Currently was the number three real estate agent, individual agent in America on Real Trends, right? So in my past, I've been like top 10 for I think 3 years, top 25 for 4 years. Last couple of years we're number three. We do thousands of transactions a year. I'm now licensed in 12, have my license in 12 states, active in 11 of those states. And kind of through the pandemic, things just, we're systems, right? Behind the scenes, not so much out at the individual home. So I gravitated more towards the institutional, the folks who can produce the most listings, right? Some of your biggest investors. Can I give a little backstory that might help really shed some light? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was an engineer for 12 years for a large healthcare company, at the end of that, I'd say around year 10, a high school buddy of mine started getting into real estate investing. Sooner or later, me and him ended up buying some rental properties. By the fifth house, I became an agent just to buy rental properties for us. From 2008 to 2010, we bought 65 single family homes. And you know what happened in 2008, or you might be too young. A lot of older folks will remember what happened. It was not a good time to even own one home, and we owned 65. We fought harder than the average person, lasted for a long time. And the thing with that was we had never missed a mortgage payment ever. It was the bank's fail. We had made 3,300 mortgage payments. We had enough cash to kind of survive. And then they kept calling loans due and doing different things because the banks were failing. So it ultimately led to our kind of demise there. And then in 2012, after kind of being an entrepreneur for 7 years, I had to go back to the corporate world. So I could have went back to engineering, which I was okay at, but honestly had no passion for. It just wasn't my back then, like my passion was running. I've done an Ironman. I've done 15 marathons. I did everything because that wasn't my passion. I would go home and do whatever you were passionate about, but it was a job, right? It was a good job, and it was Fortune 15 company actually, but it wasn't my passion. Real estate, seeing the ups and the downs and buying my dream home and buying this, and then even with the losing of everything, toughest time in my life for sure was when you're going through all that. But now you just see all of that was meant to lead you to where you're at now. So it's much different to look back on it now. Because once the bus hits you, you're not afraid of the bus hitting you again because you're like, I'm still here. I'm still better off than I was before the bus hit me. So but we did a lot of that. So so I got started as an investor. And then 2012 happened and I had to go back. I decided to go back into real estate and see if there was any corporate real estate jobs. And at that time, all the big single family REITs, all the big institutional companies were starting to buy homes. My background, 65 homes at that time was a lot. Now there's companies that own 82,000. It doesn't seem that seems crazy now, but so I got in with some big institutional companies. I'm not sure if I'm give names or not, but so we've been, was vice president of a large institutional company that had like 50,000 homes, managed a team of 46 people, 3 states and 4,900 homes within property management. And then ended up so I've been with like 3 institutional companies through my career. And that's where I think, like you said, part of the tech engineering earlier, but to me, the ability to see what I saw within that environment was now, I didn't know that then, but I now know the reason we're different is I was able to see that. So an example would be like in 2016 in Illinois and Minnesota, 2 of the markets I was licensed, we sold like 1,253 homes for a large institutional company. I did all the pricing, worked with all the agents. I had 8 agents, 6 assistants. The 6 assistants would put them on the MLS, enter them non-licensed, and they would basically we would take anywhere from 500 to 800 rental leads a week.
Wow.
On those listings. So we got really good at taking leads in, getting them return calls, having our agents work with getting those leads into the homes for showings. And then we had obviously the normal showing system for 8 renters who had agents. But that alone was, I think, the trick. It started showing me working at a high volume. I have,
Mhm.
high ADHD, so I like things moving fast anyway and a little crazy and right on the verge of chaos almost all the time. So we like that fast movement and that kind of environment. But you were barely over six figures, 47 years old, never making more than six figures, basically, even though I was high level executive.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sooner or later, people even with inside the industry were like, what are you doing? Like you
Mhm.
got it, like they could see it in you and you were like, oh, I need the healthcare benefits. I have a new daughter coming, kind of stuck in that. But sooner or later, I was able to make the dive into being like a realtor to the public, which the first
Mhm.
time I ever did that was 2017. So my
Yeah.
whole career is pretty short in to the public and working with real estate as a typical agent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So that system that you're talking about was in the rental world to where, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the institutional company that you're working with was giving you those 800 leads every single week,
I
or
was an
where were you?
employee. I was a W-2 employee for them. That was my job, right? My job at that time. Couple
Right.
jobs in that field as vice president over the whole thing. For
Mhm.
one of them, over the whole operations, we managed like $820 million. But that was all property management. But part of my job responsibilities was the leasing part of it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and the turns. We were responsible for as a rental came back, we would turn the house in 2 weeks, try to get it all cleaned up for the next rental and
Wow.
pre-leasing and a lot of that activity. Um, but yeah, I think that's the biggest background that helps. So then when I started kind of as an agent, it was tough, right? Because I had a high level real estate job, was making okay money, and then you're starting from scratch. You have no database. You have
Mhm.
nothing, like zero. And probably the biggest fear I had was reaching out to friends and family. I wasn't doing it. I was doing it to take a chance because people kept telling me, I think you'll be good at this.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't doing it to like start fresh and close 11 houses and do the typical things that agents do. So some of it felt uncomfortable. Like I've never reached out to a friend or family in my
Yeah.
life asking them to have me use. I'm not that guy. I would rather work with a stranger than bother my friends or family. Just the
Mhm.
way I'm built. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to say it. So, um,
Wonder what it is where it's like we're so uh, would you say it's fear of like reaching out to friends and family, or like what do you think is the friction in
my,
or what's the
mine is
hurdle there?
different. I think because I closed and knew it was possible to close 1,200 homes, even though it was in a corporate environment, because I knew it was possible and knew what it felt like. It didn't make sense to me that if I'm quitting my job, that I'm going to go out and be typical. So I knew up front, I didn't know I was going to be successful, but I knew I was going to make a run at something different in 2017. And weird story, at that time, I researched it. At that time, and you may have even seen me respond to this on the post. Like, as I was starting to set this up, I did the research, right? I'm like, okay. And I found the NAR report, the famous danger report, the NAR danger report. I'm 2017 at the beginning. This report's only 2 years old. So instead of me doing my market research on what clients want, I went to that NAR report and used that kind of as my market research and then create a business model. Literally by end of October 2017, I created my own customized business model, frameworks, graphs, charts, everything
Amazing.
that kind of put me in the middle of the real estate world. Not any preconceived notions of how it should be done. Not this is what the traditional agent does. This is no preconceived notions, just knowing what's
Mhm.
possible. Real estate's this big, your license lets you do this much, and most people are operating. Millions of over a million agents are operating in this little square of a pie that's this big.
Yeah.
At least how I feel.
Mhm.
And at that time, the guy in the Guinness Book of World Records was closing 4,600 transactions. An individual agent in Texas,
Damn.
Ben Cavallero. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but anyone could Google him. He's been in the Guinness Book of World Records for 8 years or something.
Mhm.
4,600 transactions, 3 assistants. I knew it was possible. He's doing it. He's
Hmm.
older than me. And I'm like, well, if he's doing it, what's he doing compared to the average agent doing 11?
Hmm.
But I saw that and I gravitated towards that. I connected, on social media. I was trying to research what top agents were doing. Then I started going down all top agents and just trying to figure it out. So I kind
Hmm.
of knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a top agent. I wanted the train. It wasn't about money at that time at all. It was just, this is my goal. If I'm going to do this at the age of 47, I'm not going to just be average. I want to do something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that motivation helped. Now I thought it was going to take me 20 years. I'll be honest with you. I had a plan, and I'm a strategist. I'm going to
Hmm.
strategically plan it out. Even now I look over here, I have a flywheel, like an Amazon flywheel that shows how my business grows, just like kind of like Amazon built theirs. I'm a
Yeah.
strategist. I have notes and books of notes that just, I constantly write on. Like my wife said, you're a mad scientist, is what it is.
It- yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was it. So I think it's that different perception. I kind of thought it was possible.
Mhm.
Um, and then part of it, I think, is like background. You were saying something earlier that part of this led to that. I think part of it too, like years ago, I remember sitting, and I don't talk about this because I'm out of shape now, but back then when I was 25 and younger, um, watched the Ironman. Like the Ironman's the big, triathlon event, and watching that, and then one day going, oh God, I should do that.
Mm.
Like a lot of people probably have watched and said, wow, this is crazy. And but then one day you're like, you schedule to do it, you plan, you create your training, and you just do. And then I finished it. I'm not in record time, but I finished. I'm
Mhm.
an Ironman.
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
start changing. You're like, well, I can do that. Like
Mhm.
anyone could do an Ironman. Like you don't think you can, but people were watching. It's If that's your passion to finish one, and you train, and you're healthy person to start, of course, and start doing. I mean, anything's possible. So I've never had
Right.
that. I've never had that thing that it wasn't possible. It's not extra confidence, but I know if you work hard and do it every day, you have to
Mhm.
get better. Like if every day you improve, like I don't know, some of the folks Cleary or James Cleary are like 1% better a day, or I don't know if I'm getting it right, but
Mhm.
if think of that, if that's all you did every day, you have to get better. Like
Yeah.
you have to grow. Um,
100%.
yeah,
It's
but I
it's
know
it's
it's
those.
different mindset than most people. I don't,
Mhm.
so I don't know. Most agents anyway struggle,
Mm.
lately,
Uh,
especially with it.
yes, yes. It's quite interesting because I went down that rabbit hole as well, and it's today to this day I still do. I love talking to individuals like yourself. I love talking to top producing teams, CEOs of these teams. You're Ben, I believe you said Cavalier or
Yeah, I could be saying
yeah,
it wrong. Yeah,
yeah. Uh, Mine was, oh man, I forgot his first name. But he runs the Loken Group in, I believe it's San Antonio, Texas. And I went to when I was a real estate agent. No, actually, I'm sorry. So when I was doing the media company, I have a friend, really good friend of mine. We started a media company called Next Real Estate Media. We did all the drones, photos, videos, all that good stuff for real estate agents. I was trying to expand our client database, and so I started to film events for
yeah,
brokers. I
yeah.
went to an event out in Anaheim. It was for KW Brokerage, the Loken Group. They're from KW. He was the CEO. He brought his wife, and then the other, I believe it was four individuals that made up his C-suite. And I heard one thing, Steve, and he was like, "Yeah, so this year we're on track to do 2,000 deals." And in my mind, I'm like, "That's nuts." And that's like the first time I got exposure to that, and I was like, "No, no, no, no. What is he doing?" And so like I really, and to be honest, I kind of like sacrificed some of the content that I was filming for the event to actually listen to
Of
what he
course.
was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started to get wind of this model that these individuals were, how they were structuring their businesses, and it's not the traditional way that a real estate agent is exposed to. And so, did you find that same, I want to say like business model, like when you first went in, did you find yourself creating that business model, replicating
Yes.
those?
Well, I had to create it. So because it did not exist as far as I knew. I knew a guy existed, but I didn't know his model, and he was very much in a niche, builders. Right. He was
Mm,
a past builder in a past lifetime, so he was in real estate for all those years. But interesting story, and I know this is more of, we can share some personal stuff here too. But so
mm,
back in when I was interviewing, I did like a couple life things that just stick in your mind, right? That were game changers. I think I saw something earlier. Like, so I went to interview for this big job as a vice president of an institutional company. I had only managed 65 houses, and I know what that felt like to me and my wife. Every time a toilet, every time this, like, just, you know what that feels like. It's a brutal industry. It's tough. And he's telling me, and I'm interviewing for this job, trying to get it. And ultimately I got hired, but he's telling me like, hey, we could have 2,800 homes in Chicago or in a market. Go and buy 300 of them. Drop them in the bucket, drop them in, and not even hire somebody. And at that time, this was 2015, my brain was like, what? Because like, I mean, it's taken everything I had to manage 65 houses. And this guy's talking about dropping 300 in a bucket, getting from 2,800 to 3,100, and they wouldn't even hire anyone because their staffing models, they had different staffing models and stuff. They wouldn't have to hire somebody till you got here because each person was doing their task. It was just like an assembly line is how he explained it. And if you saw the inner workings of how we work, it's exactly how it is. When you're managing that many listings and that many houses and that many just transactions, you're not managing each individual one like that. You have a system and you're hoping your system sticks together and it just stays on there, and it doesn't. There's ones that'll go off the assembly line. You got to hurry up, put that one back on, fix it, get it going again. But your brain is not processing all 2,000 of them. It's trusting that the system we have works. Every day you're improving that system. Every day you're trying, but nothing's perfect. So there's always something going off the assembly line. Here's this, and we try to fix it, and we try to fix it. That is really what I learned. And when I still remember the day sitting at the restaurant we were at when he told me. And, but then being able to see the inner workings of it, I think that's, looking back now, that's the game changer. At that point, it was just a job.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of what I saw. And so when we started, I started out wanting to do a lot of listings. And then you realize, okay, well, who controls the listings? And I went out and partnered with everybody who controlled the listings. Is basically it. And because of that, we haven't really done any traditional marketing. We don't do drip campaigns. We're not necessarily chasing now, especially now, the regular homeowner, right? We're a little bigger than that. We're trying to build the partnership with the tech company that's getting the leads, that wants the referral fee. And so we pay a lot of referral fees out. We can do all that. They have the client, they're paying for that. I'm just coming in at the end and listing it and make a little less money because I got to pay some fees. But we do that because for me to create a system to generate 2,000 listings it would break the bank. But if you partner we strategically partner with almost everybody. Everything I do is strategic. So I'm with multiple brokers. I'm not tied to one broker. I have multiple brokers in multiple states. A lot of agents don't get that, right? Like some states you could be a broker for 10 companies. They don't even know that's a rule. They think that, so I think part of it is just knowing what's possible with your real estate license. Not that you want to do that, but you got to at least know what's possible.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest shift is when I started, I only wanted to be a top agent. That was it. Putting me in the middle, very egotistical, wanted to be on stage, wanted that. I've got my screen, but those are some of my trophies in the back there and magazines up on that thing. That's all I wanted at first. And then I had some great success, hired some professional coaching, changed my world. Because I didn't have any assistants until I had closed 78 houses. I was still doing my own DocuSign.
Wow.
So yeah, I just was too focused on it growing. I didn't stop and go, I need help. And finally somebody's like, you need help. And then we got it. It was life-changing, hiring the right assistant and all that stuff that coaches teach you. Coaching is amazing. Sooner or later, I did leave coaching because I outgrew it. The coaching could not provide me the next level at all. I kept saying, I want to grow. I want this. I want to go into more states. And they knew how to teach you on the latest open house procedure. Right. And that wasn't me. Like, I'm not the open house guy. Yeah. So I ended up having to go somewhere else. And this was the life. This what I think fits into your show a little more and why I connected with you in the first place was, can I swear on this or no?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
You
Go
sure?
ahead.
All right. Cause okay. So, sorry.
Yeah. Good.
So I hired a very expensive coach. He's on LinkedIn. He doesn't even know he's affected my life yet, because I was waiting until I get to a higher level of success.
Mm-hmm.
But I hired him, high level coach who kind of coaches CEOs and stuff, not at any level that me and you are at, higher level.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up reaching out to him. We connected. He really liked me just as a person. Like he was like, oh my God, your drive, your passion, this is like what you're doing. I paid a lot of money, the most I've ever paid for a coach for 1 month. And that was probably the cheapest he's taken just to help me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't think he helped me. I still remember him calling me afterwards, like, I feel like I didn't help you. I feel like, and there's that one life-changing moment that I'll probably to the day I die. And at that point, I'm successful, was the number one RE/MAX agents in Real Trends, 2019, number 10 agent in the country. So I'm having some success. And he pulled me at a serious conversation where we started breaking it down. He said, I want you to listen to me and I want you to listen good. And he goes, nobody gives a fuck about Steve Koleno. And I was like, it took me a while, because I'm like, I just paid this guy all this money and that's all he's got to say. And to be honest with you, I look back now and I know that was the moment. The one moment where everything changed for me. Like if you go on my LinkedIn profiles, Facebook, you'd see me on stage, on this, on that. I've never even posted one more thing about me being number 3 agent.
Wow.
It like shifted something in my brain. And he goes, once you can figure out how to put the consumer in the middle of your business model, he goes, your life will change.
Yep.
And then that's all I do. And it's funny because it changed me, because all I do now, and I have a business model, it's like a Venn diagram, 3 sections and all of this. And it used to have me, like not my picture, but me being a realtor and thinking the whole real estate industry and put the realtor in the middle of the transaction so we stay viable. And it's his shifting of my mind when he said, nobody gives a fuck about Steve Koleno, and put the consumer in the middle and your life will change. And that's what I did. And so now that's how I met you, because I comment when I see all these realtors all trying to do the same thing. I'm like, we have a great disconnect between the consumer in America for real estate and real estate agents. And it is a huge disconnect. And the last month has been a little frustrating. I'm now on Facebook groups and I haven't said anything for 3 years. I haven't been on a podcast in 3 years. But it's hard now because agents are really taking it hard. And to me, they're seeing it as a surprise. And I'm like, if you would just talk to consumers, consumer, the realtors are disconnected. And I am now more vocal about it because I know agents could do it a different way and it would could work out better for everybody. Like the consumer can get more of what they're looking for. You end up being, when you do that, especially with our model, we're a trusted advisor. If you want somebody to come to your house to do this, I'm not your guy. I'm going to refer it out. I gave 62 referrals last year, or more than that, 62 referrals, I think. But if we're not the right person, I can refer that out to somebody who is, because the best way for me to serve that client is giving them the best option possible. And those folks who, and that's why we gravitate to big institutional clients and bigger folks with a lot of volume. Those folks don't necessarily care. A big company doesn't necessarily care about what marketing are you doing on this? Are you doing an open house on Sunday? They're already professional real estate people. They need a system. They need somebody like me to plug into their system, into their sales force and work with us. They have a whole different thing. And right now we're in like 44 MLSs, 70 metro markets. Last year we had a big client where we helped sell in 5 different states, a couple hundred homes. That client found us because we're able to meet their demand. They're the customer. Their demand was, we got to sell homes in 20 states. We don't want to hire 20 different real estate agents with their background and their theories on life and all of that. How many
Mm-hmm.
can you help us in? And I could help them in 8 at that point and gave a bunch of referrals out. That's the trick. So to me, it's all about the consumer now. And
Yep.
it's tough because watching all or even the feedback I get from regular agents, it's tough, man. It,
Mm-hmm.
people are brutal. To me, it's like Uber in the taxi cab. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't own any company. I didn't create any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't own a disruptive company. Right. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just think different.
Yep. And I think it goes to what you're saying, where there's a big disconnect between broker, agent, and consumer. I feel like, Steve, the moment that you um, started shifting your business to more consumer centric business, and it's not only, well, I say like all of your operations are now tailored to the experience of your target audience, which are those are the company, like you said, hey, we have X amount of homes that need to be sold in this amount of states, who can help us. I think, I really believe that's why real estate agents look at you different, because they don't look at it like that. They for whatever reason, like I don't know what it is. I think, maybe these brokerages are so caught up on tools and technology and all AI and stuff like that, that they're forgetting the core of business, which is the reason why I have a product or service that's needed in the market, is because there's consumers out there that this product or service is the solution to the problems that they have. In my opinion, what real estate agents have done is commoditize themselves by all of them copying everybody else.
And they still
And
do it today. Like they're still like new agents are being hired into that same thing. And it, like the facts are 87% of them fail. All right. Tom Ferry came out with that 87% from his stats, not mine, that
Mhm.
it doesn't work. Like
Yep.
even it just does, it's not working. And
Right.
there seems to be a refusal to kind of change that. But like you said, some agents will see it and go, you're a discount broker. No, I do discount broking too. I'm licensed in 12 states and I meet the consumer's needs. So if they need me to do that, I have a system, or I have a partner, or I've partnered with somebody who can do that. There's no reason, if that customer wants to do that, that I'm going to send them down the street.
Mhm.
Just doesn't make sense. I have the capabilities of doing it. I have a business model that caters to more volume. We're going to work better with more volume. More volume brings in more money, and I already got my MLS fees tied down, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't cost me more to
Mhm.
take 10 in a market or 100 listings in a market. My fees
Yep.
have stopped. So, the economies of scale are there, right? But
Mhm.
what you said is exactly it. It's not that. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. So when they call me are you doing discount pro? I do that. Sure, of course I do. But I also have some of the biggest clients in the world because we
Mhm.
cater to their needs. There's nothing to do with the price. I'm focused on the consumer and what they want and need,
Yep.
period. End the
Period.
story. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
And if
And
I
it's
can't
so,
provide that, which many times I can't, I'm going to refer it to somebody who can. But most of the
yeah.
time they're finding you because they know you fit their niche.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other part is, I think that people misunderstand is, who aren't in this realm, right? I always
Mhm.
go back to like the Ironman. Like when I did Ironman, I remember I would train and we would do 18 years ago. I'm way different person now, but we would run 18 miles, 22 miles. We'd go bike 60 miles. And remember, you would just talk to the average person and they'll be, oh, hey, what are you doing? Or you're walking funny. Hey, I just ran 18 miles this morning. And people's eyes would blow up. But yet in my realm with the people I ran with, that was normal. Like
Mhm.
those are your friends. So we didn't think we were abnormal until you got outside that group. And then you're like, I think we're strange. Like this is in that when you're in the group, you don't think it's strange, right? Um, but that's how I kind of feel now. But I feel like I'm so disconnected from what's happening. I do feel like I'm on the right side of it because I think the
Mhm.
consumer, and then the lawsuits and all that stuff going on. But that's a different argument
Mhm.
altogether, right? Our opinions on. I know I don't think there's conspiracy. Never. I
Mhm.
would. Nobody sat in a room to do this, but I know that there's a great disconnect between the consumer.
Mhm.
I feel that every day. I
Yep.
see it every I see
Mhm.
the relief when they talk to us that we're so different. that they're like, this is what I've been looking for. But there's lots of other agents out there that could do this. It's a choice.
Right.
But they don't choose that. They choose to do what they're trained to do and all of that. So,
Yep, 100%.
I don't know if
It's
this will help other people or not, or other agents. I would love to help other agents, but it's tricky.
It will. And I think the reason why is because I think the more that you could push that message of, I mean, you act as a example of it. So it's like you're leading by example of following what the consumer wants and needs. And you're just, all you're doing is just like fulfilling that. You're just like, all right, consumer, like, what's the best service to, help you guys out? And they're showing you, oh,
Right.
we want X, Y, and Z, either through you collecting qualitative data from them and specifically asking them, what are you looking, to get out of a real estate agent or whatever may have you, from your big clients all the way down to somebody that's just trying to sell their home.
That's it. Yeah.
And
if you do that, right? Like if you have that mindset and then you tie that in with some of the strategic visionary stuff, right? Where I'm like, oh, I can go open in 12 states and join 40 MLSs, or I can partner with somebody who needs somebody like me, an expert at handling volume, where I can meet their need. They meet my need because they already are generating clients. And there's like so now I can offer more services. And that's what we do too, right? Like I'm trying to be in the middle of the disruption happening. And when you do that, a new disruptive company comes out. They come out every day now. It does not bother me. The first thing I want to know is there's a way I can work with. Is there a way I can get a referral fee? And most of them, there's almost always working with agents. There's been a couple that didn't, but most of them are going to pay an agent something. And so I don't see it as disruption. And I can tell you with ultimate confidence, it's only going to get worse. Like we're not going backwards. We're going forward at a high speed, especially with AI and everything else going on.
It's very refreshing. It's very refreshing talking to somebody like yourself, just because you understand, it's the primary goal is servicing the client. The secondary goal is now worrying about, cost efficiency and profit margins and things of that nature. And I'm telling you, the moment that a company of any size in any industry flips those two around, where they make profit the primary goal in the company, it's like they, in my opinion, like they lag behind. And if not, they go out of business. The classic example is Blockbuster not understanding what Netflix was bringing to the table.
It's one of the things I've said jokingly when I'm on the phone with people. People have talked to me, I've said what you just said. I used to tell people, well, trying to explain how you're different. I'm like, I'm Netflix on steroids and compared to Blockbuster. Because that's the only way I could say it, right? Like we're like Netflix concept, not the concept of Netflix, but consumer first focus with a flywheel of growth, like that's strategically planned to grow fast to help more consumers, not to help put more money in my pocket. Now that's not the lead of anything, but it's funny. Like people know like an Alex Hermosi. I only learned about Alex like a year ago. I wish I would have known him 5 years ago. It probably would have changed my life, but somebody like that, right? Where you want to create an offer so good that people would feel stupid to say no, right? An offer so good, people would feel stupid to say no. If every day as an agent, you just woke up and your only goal was, I want to increase my product, my service, to make it so irresistible to every single person I talk to, but to me, it's not. They're like, they try to categorize you. You're a disruptor. Zillow's like other people are disruptors. I don't own a company. Like I'm just an agent, and I don't even to me, it's thinking the way I think you should when you have a business. But it's not like somebody. It's funny. Somebody on Facebook the other day responded and trying to get agents going. They can get them going, and they'll be like, competition versus collaboration. And everyone's collaborate. And of course, I'm like, I'm the biggest competitor in the world. I'm like, competition every day of the week, blah, blah. And I go on why. And then they just rip me apart. And I'm like, but literally in my business model, I collaborate with more agents than way more. The average agent will say collaborate because they're in their office and they're saying, hey, I'm collaborating with other people.
Hmm.
I can't do anything without having hundreds of agents on the ground in theory. Right now we don't have that, but we will. But we have agents in each individual market. This weekend we had to do 35 BPOs and I had to have people go out and do them. And I have partners, community partners from all different brokerages that help us.
Hmm.
We're collaborating, but the world's very divided and they never see a middle ground. It's always this or you're this. And
Yeah.
it's literally not the case. Like a lot of our business is built on something called blue ocean strategy is when I created that back when. And blue ocean shows you can do two things at once. You can try to bring costs down while increasing value. And when I started, that's what we did. I mean, I bought the Matterport camera before I got into all the institutional and in limited service and opened up my world. We used to just go in. I was a new agent with no database. I'm like, I'll go in and do what Redfin's doing. And that's what we did. We would do a $3,000 listing. We would do the Matterport drones, all the fancy stuff everyone else was doing.
Hmm.
But, and then we'd do the 3D virtual tour, which at that time, nobody was doing 5 years ago, very few people. And we would just
Hmm.
blow their mind and I would show them. And we own the camera still. I don't use it anymore, and you just show them the house spinning 5 years ago. And they're like,
Hmm.
other agents weren't doing that. Even now, it's weird because I thought when the pandemic happened and people started using that technology more, and I honestly got scared when the pandemic happened, other than the pandemic, I thought, this sucks. I figured out this way of growing. I signed an agreement to expand in 12 states with a brokerage, a partner. And now everybody's going to realize virtual works.
Hmm.
And I thought it was going to I thought that's it. I'm going to lose everything again. It's not going to work. Somebody's going to catch on. And
Hmm.
pandemic ended and everybody went back to their offices. And everybody, you go look, I bet you it's still less than 3% of people are using 3D virtual tours, like real virtual tours, the
Hmm.
spinning the house and all that stuff. So it's
Yep.
strange. People go back to what they know, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And you're so right too. When so the real estate media company that me and my business partner built, the reason why we built it, so we filmed and photographed over $500 million worth of real estate in the span. It was like 3 years time, and and it was because of some of the fundamentals that we're talking about right now, which is just listening to the
Mhm.
customer. Kind of changing directions a little bit. You mentioned
Sure.
a flywheel of growth. Could
Yeah.
you get a little bit into that?
Sure. I got it on my wall here. So, I got in this, I'm a constant learner, um, audiobooks, like YouTube in the background all day long. If there's not sports on, there's some kind of personal growth but not necessarily real estate. I don't really, I've grown out of that because it's too much of the old, in my opinion, it's too much of the old school still being done today. And the consumer wants faster, cheaper, right? They have different needs now. Not all of them, but and my model doesn't say we're going away either. It put us in the middle originally, and then I changed it to the consumer. But the flywheel came about just reading a book and following stuff on YouTube, and then seeing this flywheel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not a funnel; it's a flywheel, and it's kind of to be, everyone knows what a sales funnel is, and you work them and you go all the way in and out. But when you do a flywheel like an Amazon flywheel, which mine looks very similar to an Amazon flywheel,
Hmm.
it starts with the first thing on my flywheel is low cost business structure.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I can't work at a broker that charges 70/30. It won't work. It does not work in my business model. So I've always been in 100% broker or being a top agent. You get better splits than the average person, right? So,
Hmm.
and that's what's allowed me to always keep my costs low, or even better, I strategically partner with brokers who have all of that, and I just tie into it on purpose. So I can save my costs. So I have a low cost structure, because when you have a low cost structure, I can now offer more options to
Hmm.
consumers than other people can, because I have more. So next thing in my flywheel is more options. So
Hmm.
because of the low cost, it leads to the next step, which is more options, right?
Hmm.
And then as you go in here, it goes into customer experience, right?
Hmm.
Everyone thinks like customer experience is you go into the house, every customer, there's some customers who just want it easy and quick. They don't want, like, we live in a world where we're sending like average people to space. We live in like, there's automated cars. I saw some crazy stuff in the last 2 weeks, all this technology, but to think that we think the consumer wants to interview 3 people at their kitchen table sounds to me, that is not what consumers want, but we still do that. And we're still being told that. They don't want to interview 3 agents at the kitchen table. They're doing it because they don't think they have an option. Once they find an option that's easier and better, that's what happens. Like then it's word of mouth. Then you get a ton of word of mouth and you get repeat clients without sending them flowers or whatever agents typically do. I'm not that agent.
Lasagna recipes.
Yes. Or an apple pie. Like, God bless you. They can do that. It's just not me. It's not me. I don't build it that way, but I have clients that use me 550 times, 208 times, 300 times. I probably have 10 clients. I haven't done the math. Probably used us over 200 times.
Wow.
Right? Because investors will attract to us because they like the systems, but we go in there, obviously by doing that, you get more listings, you get more views, you get more everything. And it starts that flywheel. That does take time to do that. But building that flywheel, nowhere on there did I say marketing. I don't have a spot where I spend for marketing to get the flywheel going. I'm not making the amount of money that a top producing Beverly Hills agent may. I'm not that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm trying to create something different for the consumer. The consumer does not want me to be that guy. The consumer wants to, they want to know what's in it for them. Not for me. And when you get into luxury listing, that's completely different. Like I'm a guy who averages 330. So anybody who's getting insulted what I'm saying and you sell over $500,000, $800,000 houses, just ignore every word I'm saying because it's a whole different business that I'm not in.
Right.
And I don't work with buyers. So I'm not offending any buyers agents out there, but the common folk who would rather have that extra $5,000 go to their kids' college instead of my kids' college, that's the kind of consumer we're kind of with. But it starts to get going. It gives you more press. It gets you on more podcasts, even though I've avoided podcasts for the last 3 years. You got me on here a little early. Next year, we were going to start getting on some more podcasts, and we have a new startup we're creating that's going to help recruit agents in different markets, not a brokerage, but help. And we're going to create an agent accelerator to help people. So I have no way of leveraging this. I have no way of selling it. I have no way of selling the knowledge because I'm with different brokerages and I don't own any of them. So we're creating a tool that's going to be not coaching, but an agent accelerator, tap into our stuff and do all the non-licensed activity. But you asked me to be on early and I didn't want to say no to you because I know in some of those posts you were right on. I just felt like everything you were saying about the consumer and what their expectations are now. They're just on track there where they just want things quicker, easier, simpler,
Yeah. You mentioned that, I think before we started talking, you mentioned that someone told you that you were a visionary and it kind of gave you that.
That same gentleman I mentioned, the coach who told me nobody gives a fuck. Before that, literally the same conversation with that gentleman. That's what he said. Steve, what you're doing is amazing. Like, because he knew my plan. He saw it all. It's all on paper, and he's like, I get it. And he goes, you are a visionary. You are a strategist. You are like one of the hardest working people, out there, blah, blah, blah. But he built me up. And then, and up to that time, I've never saw that. Like now on my LinkedIn profile, I have visionary because I now believe that because I don't believe I'm a visionary, but I'm having a hard time why nobody else can see what's happening. They stick to what only they know. And the whole world is changing, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean your job's going away. It doesn't mean typical real estate's. There's a shift happening with the consumer. And they don't want to go buy their videos from Blockbuster anymore. They just don't. And that's why Blockbuster's not there. We used to buy them from a Redbox. I don't know if you had those, but for a short time that got real popular. No, I just want to press a button, man. So, but to think everybody, like we're ordering groceries. Like I ordered my kid McDonald's. Like we don't even leave the house to get McDonald's now. We just, you know, pay an extra $5 and it comes to your house. But to think that everything is changing and we still assume that the consumer wants to interview 3 agents at the kitchen table or something like that that's the hard part. So I don't think I'm a visionary, but compared to a lot of other of the traditional thinking out there that we can't seem to break. But yeah, he was the one that said that, and trying to build me up saying, hey, you're successful. You're going to be successful, but hey, you're going to be a lot more successful if you change one thing. Nobody can understand. Nobody gives a, you know, about you. So, it's a game changer, but you don't feel like you're doing anything special. To me, why wouldn't all businesses want to create a product that people want to buy? And I think that one of the biggest things I learned that because there's going to be a lot of agents that hear this who can't relate, they won't be able to put it into their mindset. But the one thing I know is if you're giving somebody more options, right, and better pricing to get the conversation going, most of the time they do not take the cheaper option. They just don't. If you get them on the phone and you're talking about options, you can get them on the phone because there's more out there. You're helping them meet their need. You're getting them on the phone because you can help them sell your for sale by owner. You don't want to pay a realtor. Well, I got an auction platform that the buyer pays it. Well, guess what? That auction platform, I've only used it twice. Everybody can use it. It's free to all agents in America. You don't have to use it, but use it in your marketing just in case somebody wants it. But any for sale by owner right now, you know, you could go to them and say, no, I got an option where the buyer pays 5% buyer premium. That's been around for 10 years. Agents just don't know what their options are, I think, because they only know what their brokers tell them. They only know what in their, you know, in my opinion, with the blinders on from what they know.
Yep.
But there's a lot out there. And once you open it up to more consumers, giving them options, they don't take. Trust me, they don't take. Because now you've got their attention, you've got their expertise, but what you get right away is their trust.
Yeah.
If they want an easier option, a cheaper option, you have it. You're not telling them, no, go somewhere else. You're not telling them. But I think one of the biggest things I've struggled with, and I know I'm going to make a lot of agents mad, but everyone always tries to rip us down and say something like, you get what you pay for. Oh man, it's untrue. Like we have the systems and the cameras and the technology, and like we have more, and every day I work on improving it. It's untrue.
Yeah,
it's not a true
100%.
thing all the time anymore. Sometimes it could be the truth, but when you come across somebody who's just implementing systems on top of systems in a flywheel effect, like a flywheel, everyone knows it spins. You're trying to get it to spin faster. Like you were saying, what would happen in something like that if you did marketing? It's probably going to make it spin faster, right?
Right.
But
right.
Part of it in a flywheel effect is you want to reduce the friction, will make something go faster. So every day we're just trying to figure out our process to make it easier, figure out our email process. How do we keep our emails to zero? How do we do this? Emails come in and they all go into a bucket. And then one of my virtual assistants will handle this, or my assistant will handle this, or my son who works for me will handle this. You're just trying every day to do that kind of thing. And it's just, I think too many agents are using the old traditional terms. You get what you pay for. You can use us. I can save you thousands of dollars using us, or you can hire a new agent who did 4 transactions from a big broker. I think you're going to be better. I just think we have better experience at that point.
100%.
The consumer knows that too. They'll see that. They know it instantly, and they can Google us, and will come up everywhere. But that doesn't hurt. But that's part of that flywheel, right? You start getting recognized. You start being seen more. Your brand builds. As you would.
Yep. I like to end off my podcast by asking the guests that we have on, what is that friction that they're dealing with right now or any challenges? And it doesn't have to be marketing. Maybe it can be a business challenge that maybe the next guest or, somebody in the community that I'm trying to build in the real estate realm has the answer to. And so is there anything right now that you're trying to figure out? Or is there anything right now, I would say business system wise, within
Yeah.
your flywheel? Is there any
It's
friction you
already
have
in my
right?
head. You've already popped it in my head. So, and I don't know how it fits exactly, but right as you start talking, I have one like thing that just sticks in my head that keeps thinking what we're doing right now with the consumer focus is the right thing. And to me, I keep feeling like as we go with AI and everything, it's just going to keep leading into strategy. Like sooner or later and this is a question for you, because I would love to hear your response. And I'm not,
Mhm.
my son's really good at AI. We implement AI now, but I'm not at that level. I'm too old to grasp it all, but I'm on chat. I have chat GPT up right now. Like we're on it all day, right? It does everything. Right. So, but to me, you can do anything now. You can drawings, I mean, it's instant and you get it in seconds, and you could go on here and try to copy my business model. Like, and you should do it because it will blow your mind. You can go on here and go create a real estate. I'm a real estate agent who wants to be a top real estate agent, utilizing the blue ocean strategy to blah, blah, blah. And you type in exactly what you want, and it will create the entire business model that will look consumer centric, that will look very similar to what I implement. And it'll create 10 pages of it. And then you can keep asking it questions and it'll tell you. So as that happens, and I don't know the marketing because I'm not a marketer at all, to me, it's going to level the playing field, isn't it? On everybody. Like everybody's going to have this. To me, I describe ChatGPT as like a calculator. Like to me, we could talk about the bad things or what people think, that's a different topic, but ultimately we don't do math without a calculator anymore. Someday we're not going to be an assistant in an office without using some form of AI that's going to make your job more productive. To me, it should level the playing field with all that marketing. And sooner or later, does it come down to the person with the better strategy? Because the consumers already, they don't want to be 1.5 million agents. If everyone was sending a drip campaign out at 36 emails, a year to their clients, sooner or later, it's just more chaos, and we're all already done. We already can't process as humans 10,000 advertisements a month or something. So I know in real estate, we have that personal connection with our friends and family. That part I get. But when you're trying to reach the person you don't know, and technology is getting so far advanced where all the marketing is going to just be awesome. It's all going to look good. We're all going to look like we're top marketers. What separates us? Is it going to come down to strategy, or is it something else that I'm? Yeah, because to me, I'm like, I still think I have an edge then, but I don't want it to be an edge because I think I'm cocky and I got some, but I'm like, I think the only thing that separates is the strategy then. Like you have to have your product has to be better than the other person's because the marketing's all going to blur into the same thing, but I don't know.
I think story is the most powerful, persuasive tool. And so from a marketing perspective, if you can apply some of the principles that they use in storytelling to telling the story of a brand or a business, I think that's one of them. That's one of the ways to stay relevant.
That's a great answer, man. Yeah, because I just got, like, the last 6 months started getting into story branding and finding different people and taking in those podcasts and those books. But before 6 months ago, I didn't even know those authors were writing that. It's very interesting. So
yeah,
how do we help more people? How do we help more traditional agents keep their jobs? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, Steve, this is dope. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out of I would say content hibernation.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.